Hello everyone, my name's Siege and this is my journey as I fought to survive on the broken ark known as Aberration for 100 days. By the end of this playthrough, my goal was to defeat Gamma Rockwell and put an end to his tyrannical reign over this cave full of mystery and wonder. If you want to see more of this type of stuff, please let me know in the comments below, but without further ado, let's get right into the video. Enjoy. I started my journey on the Broken Ark by spawning in the easiest zone, scratching my arm and praying to the Ark gods that I don't get spawn killed by a basilisk. Honestly though, why do basilisks spawn in the easiest zone? Kinda defeats the whole purpose. Anyways, the very first thing I did was tame a bulb dog, but I'm gonna warn you right now, me and bulb dogs don't really mix. You'll understand by the end of this video why that is. After that though, I gathered some basic materials such as fiber, stone, flint, wood, and thatch to start making clothes, weapons, tools, basically everything I needed to start off an ark. I'll tell you right now, it was only a matter of time before I got arked. So I exited the portal to try and find some hide, which I did, but before I knew it a stupid raptor ran at me and destroyed all my progress. It was only one day though, so I decided to just spawn in a new area and start again, because I did not want to try and get my stuff with a raptor guarding it. But then I got flanked by two Sarcos. I mean, look at that croc. He literally is climbing up a hill just to jump down and kill me. To be honest though, you've really got to admire his tenacity. Can you say that you know a croc that would climb a hill just to kill you? I didn't think so. But after that embarrassing attempt, I finally made it to where I wanted to start off, but oh boy were the troubles just starting. I'm not lying to you when I say I spent the rest of day one trying to find a rock on the ground so I can make a stupid pickaxe. You see all those rocks on the ground? Yeah, I wasn't able to grab a single one of them. I was so frustrated that I went to shore and found a low-level moss chops which only needed a tintoberry to tame. So I said, why not? Tamed it up. Back to the rock problem though. It was only thanks to an earthquake that I finally got my first rock so I could progress further into the game. I mean, seriously, all those rocks on the ground should have been harvestable. You saw how many were just lying there. Anyways, after the whole rock debacle, I made up the tools I needed, which included, but not limited, to bows, arrows, and a nice and cozy campfire to cook some meat. Although, day 2 started my metaphorical climb to success, so to speak. You know, I vowed to myself I wouldn't die again, and as the first rays of sun shined down into the giant cave, I finally got some luck. I was walking up the pathway above the artifact cave when I found some dodos for hide. You know, I was a little wary of my surroundings due to my first death, but I gathered up the hide as quickly as I could before getting away as fast as I could. I then used up all the meat that I had just gathered from those dodos to make spoiled meat before heading over to the river and grabbing some metal. But along the way I found a parasaur and I bowled that thing up and killed it for hide. After that, I used the metal that I had just collected to make myself a metal pick and hatchet, so I could gather things a whole hell of a lot easier. It was also nice to have a tool that wouldn't break after a dozen hits. But on the eve of day 3, I decided that I wanted to tame my first creature, and as luck would have it, there was a high-level bear just inland a bit. So with the materials I had, I crafted up fence foundations, doorways, and a bear trap, so on the morning of day 3, when I could actually see where I was going, I could lure the bear inside the trap and trank it out nice and easy. And everything went according to plan, actually. I was pretty surprised, to be honest. I shot at the bear to get his aggro, and once he got mad, I turned around and made a beeline towards the trap, but there was another bear in the way, so I had to improvise. I waited until he wasn't mad at me anymore, and demolished the side of the trap he was wandering around on. I got his aggro, and lured him towards the bear trap again, and once he was stuck, I walked around, and closed off the pen with him inside of it. A level 120 dire bear. I'll be honest with you, this bear helped me a ton in the beginning stages of this playthrough. This dude deserves an MVP award after this is done. Drinking him out with arrows though was causing a lot of damage, so I had to find something to kill in order to heal him up a bit. There was a glow bug right beside the river though, so I killed it and dragged the body over to the bear and got him to eat it before resuming the taming process. Once the bear was knocked out, I quickly had to look up what its preferred food was on Dododex because I have not tamed a bear in probably over a year. But after placing the food in its inventory and making spark powder and narcos all night, on the morning of day 4 I swam over to the 2 metal nodes right by my base to collect some more in order to smelt down to make more items such as guns and ammo. Before that though, I needed to make a dire bear saddle, which costed 100 cementing paste, but that wasn't so bad with all the trilobites hanging around my base. After that, I went to grab the bear since it was done taming, before heading back over to the outpost where I literally swam in the river the rest of the day trying to tame otters. I'm going to be 100% real with you. I have absolutely no idea why I spent so long taming otters. I didn't use them once during this entire playthrough. I'm pretty sure that when I started this, which was like the last week of September, I thought I was going to need an otter to hold more than one artifact, but I never brought them into the cave with me. And it's not like I was going to defeat Rockwell more than once after all. That's just asking to be killed. Especially Alpha. That boss fight is very intense. But back to the gameplay. At the end of day 4, I opened a blue drop which had an Ascendant Metal Pick blueprint, which was awesome. But after that, I went home, crafted myself a full set of flak, and then called it a night. Day 5 was pretty much just me getting a new bulb dog and roaming around the area to get some hide, but I did find a crab that was almost dead, so I got the last hit on it, gathered its polymer, and knew I needed to find another drop to make some cryopods. As I was searching for a drop though, I stumbled upon that stupid raptor from day 1 who killed me along with my very alive bulb dog that was fighting off the raptor single-handedly. It was probably going to die, so I mustered up every nice bone inside of me and saved the little guy who didn't have a name. But at the end, I made the ultimate decision to leave it behind since I had literally just got a new one that day and I wasn't going to abandon the new little guy. Yet. Anyways. When I did find a drop, I climbed up onto the ledge with my picks and crafted as many as I could before heading on home. When I was on my way back though, I found a Doedicurus stuck in a hole, and I couldn't pass up this perfect opportunity to tame the guy, even if he wasn't the best level out there. I was going to need one for my real base build anyways, so I decided just to get this guy and be done with it. Plus, have you tried taming a high level one? They take forever to tame up. After the Doedicurus was knocked out safely, in its hole with berries in its inventory though, I went back home in order to craft that Ascendant Metal Pick from the drop along with the saddle for the new tame. Day 6 was when I could actually use the Doedicurus though, it finally being woken up, so I instantly got started on farming up some materials to make structures for the new base location I had picked up the night before. I need foundations, walls, ceilings, forges, smithies, storage, and most definitely another fabricator too. I wanted to keep a lot of this here, right outside the cave in case I ever needed it. You know, just a little outpost to stop by and rest at. P.S. though, I never use it again. Never. The new base was located though right on the edge of the green and blue biome, along a waterfall that had perfect access to all the metal I needed, along with a gas vein right across the way. It also had access to infinite polymer since if you followed the river, dozens of crabs spawned right along the banks, along with spinos in case I ever needed prime meat for tames. But I spent the rest of day 6 and all of day 7 just placing down the foundations for my first actual base, putting up the walls and ceilings, and just organizing my crap into boxes, seeing as how I still needed to go back to my outpost to grab all of my materials to bring them over. Which is exactly what I did. At the end of day 7, I made 2 trips back and forth to my old base to grab everything before logging off and calling it a night. Bright and early the next day, I sat next to a few roll rats who were just outside my base and waited for them to drop red gems because I needed to make a gas collector for a hazard suit. Now, some of you may have noticed that gas collector back where I was taming the bear, but I can't explain that. Since I play on single player, all of my data usually stays on the world unless I wipe it manually. So, obviously last time I played Aberration, I forgot to do that, which is why some of you may have seen that gas collector back in day 3. Just want to tell you all, so you know I'm not cheating, I am a solo console player who plays by himself. I took none of those gas balls, and I just wanted to clear the air. Now that that's over with, at the end of day 8 I was able to make an industrial grill along with a primitive pump shotgun. I'll tell you right now though, I will never use that weapon in this entire playthrough. On day 9, I started off by making some campfires behind the base to burn wood for charcoal, because I need to start stocking up on that right away if I was going to have enough for the endgame stuff later on. I also started the grind of making AC units for hatching eggs because I knew that I needed a lot to be able to hatch a rock drake, and these things are kind of expensive, but I needed someplace to put all these electrical stuff. So after I collected the gas balls to make a full set of hazard gear, I got to work on the new building. I didn't want it to take up a lot of room, but at the same time I needed to be big enough to house a couple creatures along with my electrical devices, so I placed down a 6x7 outline of stone foundations to get started. Day 10 was when the building really started to take shape though. I placed down 2 dino gates at the front, along with a normal entrance for a player, and tried to start off the walls with the materials that I had left. Which, to be honest, wasn't really that much, but as luck would have it, something even better happened to me when I was trying to collect more wood and thatch for walls. As I was on my way back to the base, I got attacked by a Ravager. Now, it wasn't a very high level one, I think around level 85 or so, but if I could get my hands on another one of the opposite gender, then I could start breeding them up to get the perfect stats between the two. By the end of this video, you'll be able to tell that I'm a hardcore ARK breeder at heart. As such, while I was waiting, I crafted up another few ACs along with a spare set of hazard gear because you can never be too careful when you enter the radiation zone. But as soon as the Ravager was done taming, I crafted up a saddle and brought it back over to base. But I kid you not, that same very evening I found a level 80 male and I couldn't pass up the opportunity to have a mating pair. So I used the bear to tank the damage as I sat atop of it with Ebola and my trank darts, slowly shooting the creature and making it get sleepier and sleepier. But at the end of the night, just as it was about to turn day 11, the Ravager tamed up, so I crafted another saddle and brought him back over to base so he could meet his mate before saying goodbye to stream and sleeping all my fatigue away. In real life. Days 11 through 15 were spent breeding the Ravagers together to get the best stats into a single mate pair, but as I was waiting for them to breed, I had a near-death experience with a cliff while farming metal off to the right of my base where some nodes were located. Now, if I didn't have my glide suit on, or my climbing picks, it would have been a whole lot messier, that's for sure. Although, after that little mishap, I spent all of day 12 finishing up the electrical building. You know, placing down the rest of the walls, the ceilings, and all that crap, before making a couple more AC units for rock drake eggs, since you need a ridiculous amount of them to hatch one. Seriously, over 20 is just a tad bit too much in my opinion. Then, I made a second level to the building, because that's where I decided I was actually going to put the ACs, since the bottom level was going to be more for, you know, normal electrical structures, like fridges and a chemistry bench. All that jazz. Then I started stocking up on shotgun shells before heading over to check on the baby Ravagers. You know, it seems that I always get mutations when I don't want them, and it annoys me every single time. And yet, to finish off day 12, I put a railing on the roof of the building, I placed down a generator on the first floor and to light up the area, and then I went to collect all 370 gas balls that were in the collector. Which wasn't really that much. On day 13, the second generation of Ravagers were finally grown up, so I started to breed the female male that I had gotten, hoping that it wouldn't take me long to get the stats that I needed. But, as luck would have it, the very first baby that popped out was level 137, which was the exact level I was looking for, with all the good stats from both the parents. It was a terrible level, don't get me wrong, but I didn't really need perfectly tamed level 150 Ravagers. More mutations, though. Twins, as luck would have it. You know, sometimes I just really hate this game, but they were a good enough level to be in the pack, both being only one level off from 137 due to the mutations, so, you know, I kept them. Better to be safe than sorry, after all. Day 14, though, was me just sitting around base, AFK, waiting for all the Ravagers to be done growing up, so I could actually take them out and level some of them, so they wouldn't die in 5 hits from a stupid raptor or something. But to be honest with you, I barely ever use these guys. Like, truly, I can count on my one hand the times I took them out after leveling. It wasn't much. But by day 15, the entire pack was done and fully matured, all of them imprinted as well. So I took them out onto the lawn, lined all of them up, and stared at all my hard work that I would never use before getting off and calling it a night. Oh, but the very next day when I got on, I found a level 135 male Megalosaurus a couple hundred feet from my base. But that wasn't it! No, because there was also a level 150 female just below the waterfall that I lived on. I decided to take down the 135 first, though. So once I built the trap and knocked it out, since I didn't have any kibble lying around, I killed one of the many sheep wandering around the area to get as perfect of a tame as I could. I wasn't going to bother trying to find a better male. After all, I don't have infinite amounts of days for this playthrough, since after this, I only had 84 more days left to go. After I was done with the male, I did the same exact thing with the female, and gave her the rest of the mutton while I waited for them both to wake up. I almost messed up the tame with that last shot, but we don't talk about that. As such, while I was around base, I decided to grab some more polymer from the many crabs that spawned just down the river from my base. all the while trying not to be ambushed by wild Ravengers. But when I got home, I was finally able to make a chem bench, along with a few fridges that I would definitely need to store any fertilized eggs I got. So, I went over to the newly dubbed hatchery, by moi, and placed the chem bench along with the 3 fridges. After I placed everything I needed to on the ground floor, I went to the second level to place exactly 20 AC units. Little did I know that in a little over 10 days I would come to regret only making 20. After I did all of that, both the Megalosauruses were done, so I went over to cryo them, but I was stupid and didn't bring a life pet down with me. So the 150 was having a little trouble with some nameless, but I cryoed her up as quick as I could before getting the hell out of Dodge. Then, from day 17 onward till 20, I spent them all breeding the Megas and hatching their children. Over and over and over again. It was a long time. Let me make that very clear. If you were there at the stream, there were many moments where I just sat back, muted myself, and waited till I collected a dozen or so eggs before hatching them all at once. It took hours, let me stress that, hours to get the perfect stats into a new male and female. During that time frame, there were a couple babies that I'm pretty sure were like 1 level off or something, and I kept one of them just in case, but yeah, I was very unlucky with this breeding session. There were hundreds of babies that I just used as experience for my main Ravager to level her up. But finally, on day 19 I got my first perfect Megalosaurus level 230. But right after that though, I got a stupid mutation, and it looked so cool! You can actually see my disappointment as I stare into the stone of the floor below me. After I was done moping for a grand total of 3 seconds, I got an Omega and did what needed to be done. Listen, don't hate. It's just the circle of life, man. Get over it. Then, on the last cluster of eggs before calling it a night, I got what I needed. A level 230 male Megalosaurus. You can see how happy I get, knowing that I can finally go to bed. It was like 2 in the morning though, and I had just spent the last few hours breeding, so I feel justified in my celebratory bagging, okay? Good. I was very tired though, so I didn't stay up the extra few hours that I would need to grow them up. So, after I filled the baby's inventory up with another stack of meat, I said goodbye to the stream and decided to hit the hay and fall into my very, 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 very comfy bed. When I woke up the next morning, I got on the game and decided that I needed to go out and hunt for baryonyxes if I wanted to complete that water cave that was over by the radiation zone. I spent most of the day searching for any good levels, but eventually I did find a level 135 and a 145. Those were the only good ones though, and I couldn't find it in myself to try and find a 150s, so I decided that those two would just have to do. Once I was done, I brought them home and started to breed them together, but I was not prepared for what would happen that very next morning.
Oh, are you It's got a melee mutation though. Did it get... I got the melee and the health, that's all I care about.
That's right, on day 22 I got a melee mutated berry with a pretty cool color too. You know, it's actually nice to get a mutation when you're not even expecting it, and you actually need one. But anyways, I took up my bear and killed some of the piranha in the river to get some fish meat, and once I was done, I filled the mutated baby's inventory up with all I could hold before sitting around base for the next 40 minutes and waiting for the imprint. The baby only wanted a cooked meat jerky, and after I fed its preferred food, the imprint went up to 100% right away, so I didn't have to do it again, which was fantastic. The new berry didn't take that long to fully mature either, so on day 23 when it was all grown up, I used all those berry eggs that I've been collecting for the past 3 days to level my dino. Honestly though, this is the best way to earn experience for both your player and creature. I severely hope they don't patch this in ARK Ascended though, because I love stuff like this, it makes farming so much easier. By the time I had pumped all the levels in, the Admiral was around 30,000 health and 1,000 melee, which was good enough for me. But on the evening of day 23, the perfect stat Megalosaurus were finally done raising, so I started to breed them up as well. Day 24 were spent inside the hatchery hatching out the Megalosauruses that I'd used to go down into the radiation zone to grab my first rock drake eggs. I decided a good number was 4, but nothing else exciting really happened that day. if I'm being honest. But on day 25, I finally got a pair of perfect berries with all the good stats in them, with a base level of 232. Day 26, I decided that I wanted to get the 2 artifacts I could at the moment, so I went to the easiest one back where my previous base was located. It didn't take me too long to get through it, especially when I threw down my Megalosaurus. But by the time I got out of the cave and went back home, it was already day 27. All I really did for the entire day was place the artifact in its pedestal and get everything I needed for the underwater cave ready, which included a scuba set, extra armor, zip lines, and of course my wingsuit and climbing picks. But before I left to go caving, I crafted the Ascendant Pike that I had found in a drop back in the previous cave. Now this cave was brutal even with the Admiral helping out in the beginning stages of it. I busted through all but 2 sets of climbing picks, but thank God for the wingsuit, or else I would have gone splat with no way back into the cave to grab my stuff. Anyhow, the only real difficult part of this cave was the underwater bit where you have to try to lure all the creatures back towards you to kill them before making a beeline into the artifact chamber. But by the end of day 28, I had finally made it to the artifact, and as quickly as I could, I nabbed that son of a gun and bolted out without looking back once. Once I got home, I placed it into the second pedestal and stood back to admire my handiwork for a moment, but I was missing one, and to get that last one I needed rock drakes. But before I made the journey down, I went to tame a Shinehorn.
It's a 170. Oh, it's a 170.
I found a couple level 95 drakes after that, but the first egg was by far the best one in the trench at the moment. I spent a good 10 minutes too looking around, but there was nothing good, so with one level 170 egg and 2 95s, I tried to make my way back up, but little did I know that I had trapped myself at the bottom when I had fallen down the small cliff to get to the nest. And I had only 4 cryopods with me, which meant someone was going to have to be left behind. If you remember what I said at the beginning of this video, then you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Cassandra, I'm sorry. You are, in fact, now a sacrifice. Goodbye.
Yep. Listen, I told you I wasn't kind to bulb dogs. But let's forget about that for the moment, because by day 30, I had all my eggs and my important dinos, and I was heading back up to the surface. I'm not kidding when I tell you this, but I had to place an extra 13 AC units down just to make the eggs able to incubate. I mean, seriously, over 30 ACs is just a little bit too much, no? Just me? Alright, well once the 170 had hatched, I was actually really excited because it was a nice black and blue color, and not a puke green or something else like that. All of day 31 was spent using up every last bit of chitin I possessed to make as much paste as humanly possible. And don't get me started on day 32, where all I literally did was sit on the business end of my Megalosaurus and wait for eggs to pop out and pick them up because I needed something to level up my rock drake. Which is exactly what I did day 33 once my newly named drake, called Cobalt, was finished growing up. I took all the eggs from what I collected from day 32 and hatched them all for experience. But while doing so, I actually got my very first melee mutation on the Megalos, which I was very excited for. After all, it got me one step closer to getting the perfect dino stats for taking out Rockwell, and yeah, maybe I don't need to go that overboard, but I'm an ARK breeder at heart. I can't just stop with one mutation. I gotta take it all the way. On day 34, I brought Cobalt down to the trench, and together, we stole another 2 170 Rock Drake eggs. Sadly though, that was the best I could find. But the next day, I hatched both of them, and realized that one of them had better melee than Cobalt did. And it was the opposite gender too. Which meant I had just found my mating pair of drakes for the time being. Now, after leaving the drakes to grow up, I went out to gather some obsidian so I could make some actual polymer, because if I wanted to craft that shotgun blueprint I had found, I would need a couple hundred normal polymer alongside the organic. But after I got all the normal poly, and went out to kill all the crabs in the area for their organic polymer, I made a mind wipe tonic in order to get max crafting skill before crafting my new Ascendant shotgun on the evening of day 35. In a few days though, you'll see how all of this work I did was for nothing. Just thinking about it now makes me annoyed. Day 36 marked the day where I started to do some work around the base. You know, because I wanted to make it look a bit better than just two boxes against a waterfall. And the first step to that was making an industrial cooker and placing it down. The very first thing I did with the cooker, though, was make dye for my tools and armor. Now, usually when I play Ark, I like to use black and either red or purple, but I used all three of them this time around for some reason. I also decided to place some skins in my flak armor and color those up as well. And in my personal opinion, the skins I have on right now do look pretty cool. But that could just be me. Now the second half of day 36 was spent knocking in a 120 anklo because I still had not tamed one yet, even though it's been this long in the playthrough. I've been harvesting metal nodes by hand for the past 30 days. It's been horrible! After he was down though, I used up literally most of my metal to make a cliff platform so I could place it down where I wanted to make my main build, because I had some pretty cool ideas up in my head, and I wanted to see if I could do it since I've rarely ever built on these things before. That very next day though, I spent all of my time up at the surface getting drops. I'll let you see the clips for yourself then.
Yo. Oh, yep. That's not. Wow, shotgun. Look at that. Oh, yep. That's a good saddle right there. That's a good. Another shotgun. Yep.
Did you see that? 2 ascendant shotguns literally a day after I just spent all those resources on mine. You know, sometimes I really hate this game. Anyways, day 38 was spent doing more things around the base to make it look a bit nicer. For starters, I added in a back wall on the waterfall side so I couldn't accidentally fall off again. I then named the newly tamed Anklo Al Dusty because why not? And at the end of the night, the rock drakes were done maturing, so I started up that breeding process. The only major thing that I did on day 39 was make the industrial forge and place that sucker down because let me tell you, I was so done dying of heat every time I walked into my base when the refining forges were blasting trying to smelt metal and burn charcoal. For the next few days, I spent most of the time gathering resources to make my cliff base right across from the main outpost. I had loaded into another world a few days prior to this and briefly designed a base that I thought looked cool. Basically, it was just a giant tower with a rock drake pen at the bottom, different crafting stations in the middle of the building with vault storage, and then at the top was my bedroom with a balcony that looked out into the blue zone. I'll be honest though, after I built the tower, I didn't use it at all. I was too busy being a breeding insomniac. I also needed to get resources for all the stations I needed to craft though, such as a fabricator, chemistry bench, fridges, and a grill, but I didn't really want to go down into the radiation zone to find oil, so I went on a hunt for tech creatures to harvest their oil and electronics. After I had gotten everything I needed, I went up to the tower and started to place all the appliances that I had made. But, like I said, I have no idea why I did it. Now that I think back on it though, I'm pretty sure I just didn't like how unfinished my base looked, and I want to make it prettier. Which is why I spent literally 5 in-game days working on the base. But, by the end of day 43 the tower was completed, and for some reason I felt accomplished with myself. The next day was spent making a stupid bridge across the river so I didn't have to swim across every time I needed to get to the other side while getting eaten alive by piranhas. Seriously, in this playthrough, nothing annoyed me more than those stupid piranha. But after that, all I did was finish laying out fence foundations for the rest of the wall before spending another 17 million hours farming wood and stone to make the actual walls. Day 45 was a special one because after I placed down the gate that would finish off my outpost, I took Cobalt and went down into the radiation zone to grab the very last artifact I needed to defeat Rockwell. All things considered, it was probably the easiest cave I had to do since you can just skip everything with an invisible rock drake. But once I got home, I placed that bad boy into the last pedestal and took a step back to admire all 3 of the artifacts. The next day I did a little tidying up around the main building because I was pretty sick of just looking at a square the whole time. I added in a nice little porch to the front of the building with a nice little overhang and a fully fenced in roof to land a rock drake if needed. I also started to breed the rock drakes for the best stats towards the end of the day, and I had gotten the next best pair, but I would have to wait till they grew up to continue breeding. The only thing I did day 47 was make shotgun shells in preparation for the boss fight because I would need a lot of them. Day 48 and most of 49 were spent breeding Megalosauruses to try and get another mutation, but it didn't really work out because every single one I hatched didn't have a melee mutation. But at the end of 49, I did get what I was looking for. By then, the rock drakes had just grown up, and on one of the first few eggs I hatched, I got 2 females with the stats I was looking for. Day 50 was spent continuing the breeding of the Megalosauruses for melee mutations, which surprisingly went really well. On the morning of 51, I got my 3rd melee mutation, and it had a pretty cool blue underbelly too, which I wasn't complaining about. But after I released all the other babies back into the wild, said no ARK player ever, I started to breed up the drakes again since the other babies had just grown into adults. After that, I went on a meat run killing all the fish in the river so the baby Meg didn't starve to death while I was AFKing around base. Listen, the perfect rock drake wasn't going to breed itself after all, so I had to keep going, no matter how tired I was getting from picking up eggs for hours straight. My dedication though was about to pay off because on day 54 I had gotten my breeding pair of perfect drakes along with 2 extras due to one of the eggs hatching triplets. One of them was for sure going to be my boss drake, so because of that triplet egg I no longer had to breed them anymore. Hallelujah, baby! Day 55 though was just spent filling up the troughs again. Fast forward the next day to when the newly mutated Mega was done though, and I bet you can guess what I did after that. Right? Come on, man, I've only been doing it this entire playthrough so far. Austin, I know you know. That's right, I sat on stream and bred the dinos up for 2 days straight, sitting there and just pressing X whenever an egg happened to be laid. I'm sorry if you were there at the stream that day. It wasn't really that exciting. 99% of the eggs I collected, though, became levels for my 2 new main rock drake buddies, but by the end of day 59, I had gotten another melee mutation, and the color on it wasn't bad. Could have been worse, but it could have also been better. But to close out the night, I decided to put glowing eyes on Moonshine because I realized this whole time she didn't have any armor on. Day 60 was spent farming some stone and flint to make spark powder because I had run out of it, but as I was farming, I said, why not, and went out on my bear to collect some tinto berries to make up some medical brews for Rockwell. Once that was done, I went over to the chemistry bench and made up thousands of gunpowder before transferring all of that into my smithy to make even more shells for the boss fight. I made a lot of shells, more than I ever used, but I wanted to be as prepared as I could be. Day 61 and 62 was just spent AFKing at base and waiting for my 3 melee mutation Megalo to grow up, so, I could continue the long process of breeding again. Which is exactly what I did for the next 7 days. When I tell you that I actually spent over 5 hours sitting around collecting eggs and then hatching said eggs, I'm not lying. Just ask Austin, he was there. An entire in-game week, all I did was breed. And breed, and breed, and breed. Constantly. There's a small part of me that wonders why I always do this to myself. Why I torture myself to try and get the best dinos possible, but then the other part of me loves it. So I'm stuck in this never-ending loop of love and hate between breeding for mutations. And even though it is tedious, I really can't say I regret it. Because I don't. Days 70 through 74 were spent using the eggs I had collected the previous days to hatch out the army I would use to defeat Rockwell. By this point, I had given up on getting any more mutations, but I was pretty sure that the melee I had would do nicely. It was also a perfect 420, so I had to keep that going. But besides hatching the eggs and imprinting all 18 dinos I'd be bringing with me to the boss arena, not much else was done those 5 days. I mainly just sat AFKing while waiting for the imprints. But after all was said and done, with every single Megalo getting 100% imprinted bonus, something happened on day 75 that really just annoyed me to no end. Do you want to take a guess what it was? No? Well, it doesn't matter because I'm going to show you anyways.
I can't not do it. I can't not do it. And God, no! And it's a melee! Oh, I'm keeping you. Yeah, oh, I'm keeping you. Yep. I have to. I have to. I'm sorry. Yeah. I have to. I have to. I have to. Listen, I just can't.
Yep. As I was leveling the new boss dinos with the leftover eggs I had, I got another melee mutated Megalosaurus, and with a pretty amazing color in my opinion. But, you know, Sailor Ark, what can you do? The rest of day 76 was spent leveling up the dinos while I waited for my brand new Megalosaurus to want care. Even though it was cool, and it had a melee mutation, I couldn't help but feel just a tad bit bitter as I watched it grow. Although I did come up with a pretty good name for the little guy. Valis to Ark. Listen, if you know, you know. That's all I can say. The good thing about the little guy, though, was all three imprints wanted to cuddle for me and not some stupid kibble, so you know, I'll take what I can get nowadays.
Oh. Oh, yo. Ooh, okay. Oh. Oh, another long neck.
After I went drop hunting up on the surface, I came back down to the cave and remembered that there was a healing plant right next to my base, so for the rest of day 79, I spent dragging each and every one of those Megalosauruses back and forth to heal them up in time for the boss. I'm gonna be real with you all. For the next 20 days, I pretty much did nothing. There were only a handful of things I did that were actually worthwhile watching, like leveling Valis up, making more health brews for the boss, and hunting cave drops, but to be honest, I didn't find that good of items anyways. Most of my time from days 80 to 99, I just AFK'd at my base until day 100 ticked over. But while I was flying around, I did find a Megalosaurus taking on two Ankylos, which was, you know, pretty cool, I guess. I also had a very near-death experience caused by some good old mushroom, which would have for sure caused my death if I hadn't gotten away as fast as I did. My health was pretty low though, so you can bet your sorry behind that after that, I went home and didn't leave my base for the next 15 days. I'm actually not kidding. I had nothing I wanted to accomplish in the playthrough anymore, and I had gotten pretty lucky early on finding the dinos I needed within the first 20 days, so there was really nothing for me to do. All that was left was to sit back and wait while the days ticked on by so I could officially say that I had indeed made it to day 100, even if I died at the boss fight. While I was AFKing though, I was definitely watching some new ASA videos because it was around this time where the trailer dropped for the game, and I found out I had to wait till November to get my hands on a copy. You know, as a veteran ARK player who's been here since the game first came out in preview, I'm so used to things being delayed by wildcard that it didn't really bother me all that much. I had a feeling they would do something like this, but I understand. There was a bug the day before release and they couldn't release it. I get it. But it doesn't make me not want the game for myself, yeah. Who knows? Maybe my first video on ASA could be 100 days. You know, that could be fun. But before I knew it, day 100 was here and I could officially say that I had completed the challenge. Now, all I had to do was kill Rockwell. Easy peasy, right? Well, you know, it's never that simple in ARK Survival Evolved. But all I'll say before I let you watch the boss battle for yourself is I've been playing this game for years, and this right here, even though it was Gamma, the easiest difficulty, was the most stressed I think I have ever been playing this game. Enjoy the fight!
Have you come here to challenge me?
No.
I'm afraid you've made a fatal error in judgment, survivor. You find yourself in the presence of Sir Edmund Rockwell, savant, scientist, survivor. I have been transmuted. I've transcended mere humanity, with all its weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Look at me. I've been tempered in volatile admundium, rarefied prima materia. survived more than you could ever be capable of imagining. You may genuflect or prostrate yourself at this juncture. Either way, I'm afraid you won't be surviving this.
Come on.
I've never cared for stinging insects. It's been ages since I've seen one of you. Suppose I've nearly forgotten what you look like. Those hours, they left me out here to die ages ago. My so-called allies. Too small and fearful to understand what I've managed to accomplish. Our half-mechanical overseers called us survivors. Did you know that? They reached back to pluck us from the pages of history and then plopped us into their crucibles for their infernal tests. And here we are, meant to prove which of us might be worthy of restoring life from the ruin they made of our world. Cheeky of you attacking the dominions of a Leviathan. See the power I command? There's no scenario where you walk away from this. That is quite rude. Remain where you are and I will return momentarily. Are you getting it yet? Did I not mention my nine omnipotence alpha? Pathetic. Hold that thought. How long are you going to keep up this fight? Well, go on. Take your best shot.
Come on. Come on! What are you doing?
Why is everyone so obstinately blind to what I've accomplished here? You remind me of those soldiers from the future, so confident in their shining armor. They tried to keep me from learning what fueled their contraptions, and these arcs, that I found it. I stole the numerous fire of heaven itself that lights the stars and holds angels aloft. My discovery, my Monday.
Come on, Megalosaurus eyes.
Don't you see? Without me, there is no future. What exactly is your plan here? Even if you could get past me to the surface. takes a god to kill titans, you fool. You haven't thought this through, I can tell.
No!
Surely now you must understand why I've done what I've done. Only through my divinity can mankind hope to take back its own. I will assume the mantle of Recreator and return life to the world. It's not too late for you to show me some measure of difference. Perhaps I will be moved to make an example of you if you lay down your arms. Agree to
No.
serve me, and in return
Man, I'm sorry I'm not talking, but yo, this is intense.
I can afford to be magnanimous. There's plenty of infinity to go around. Or you could continue your petty crusade and gain nothing. At least consider my good faith offer. You must. Ha! Do your worst.
Yes! We did it! Yes! Yes! Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, that was. Oh, we did it, guys. Oh my god, we did it. I'm so happy. Oh my god, yes! We did it! Oh! Oh man, my heart's racing. I wasn't speaking at all. Oh my god. Oh, we did it. Oh, yes. Oh. Oh my god. Excuse me, but yo, look at that. We did it, boys. What's today's date? The 3rd of November? November 3rd. November 3rd, boys. We did it. Oh my god. Oh. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I can't believe we did it. That's, oh my god, my heart. My hands are shaking. Oh, oh, that's amazing.
We did it, boys. Rockwell is no more. I want to take this time to thank you all for watching, and for those of you who stopped by the streams to watch me survive the Ark while live, you have my utmost thanks. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and hey, subscribe if you want. It's free after all, and be on the lookout for more Ark content here as soon as ASA drops on Xbox, November 14th. But if you want to watch me do 100 days live, head on over to my Twitch account, SiegeBreakerYT. And if you have a suggestion on what my next 100 days video should be over on ASA, feel free to let me know. But until then, everybody, I hope you have an awesome day. Catch you next time, folks.